Good evening, friends. You are most welcome to Think Eyes channel. Today we are discussing the second ARC report and ethics in governance. We are discussing the second chapter, ethical framework. Now we are discussing the tightening of anti-defection law. Defection has long been a malaise of Indian political life. It represents manipulation of political system for furthering private interest and has been a potent source of political corruption. The anti-defection legislation that was enacted to combat this malaise fixed a certain number above which defection in a group was permitted. Legalizing such selective defection, however, provided opportunities for transgressing political ethics and opportunism. There is no doubt that permitting defection in any form or context is a travesty of ethics in politics. The 91st Amendment to the Constitution was enacted in 2003 to tighten the anti defection provisions of the 10th Schedule, enacted earlier in 1985. This amendment makes it mandatory for all those switching political sides, whether singly or in groups, to resign their legislative membership. They now have to seek re election if they defect the anti defection law and cannot continue in office by engineering a split of one third of members or in the use of a continuing split of a party. The amendment also bars legislators from holding post defection any office of profit. This amendment has thus made defections virtually impossible and is an important step forward in cleansing politics. Besides, the Election Commission has also insisted on internal elections in the political parties to elect their leaders. The Election Commission has recommended that the question of disqualification of members on the grounds of defection should also be decided by the President or Governor on the advice of the Election Commission. Such an amendment to the law seems to be unfortunately necessary in the light of the long delays seen in some recent cases of the obvious defection. The second ARC also recommended that the issue of disqualification of members on grounds of defection should be decided by the President or Governor on the advice of the Election Commission. C's disqualification. It has been suggested that disclosure of past acquittals, ACQUITTALS, acquittals in respect of serious criminal charges will be value. It has been suggested that disclosure of past acquittals in respect of serious criminal charges will be of value. Given the delays in our criminal justice system, disqualification after conviction for crimes may be an insufficient safeguard. There are candidates who face grave criminal charges like murder, abduction, rape, and dacoity unrelated to political agitations. In such cases, there is need for a fair reconciliation between the candidate's right to contest and the community's right to good representation. As a rule, it would be rash and undemocratic to disqualify candidates on some pretext or other. An election outcome must be decided by the people who are the ultimate sovereigns through the ballot box. Election by indiscriminate disqualification is a stratagem, stratagem sometimes resorted to the dictatorships to pervert the democratic process. However, in the present situation, on balance, in case of persons facing grave criminal charges framed by a trial court after a preliminary inquiry, disallowing them to represent the peoples in legislatures until they are cleared of charges seems to be fair and prudent course. but care must be exercised to ensure that no political vendetta, 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 is involved in such charges and people facing charges related to political agitations are not victimized. But care must be exercised to ensure that no political vendetta is involved in such charges and people facing charges related to political agitations are not victimized. Thus, the second ARC recommendations that Section 8 of the Representation of People's Act 1951 needs to be amended to disqualify all persons facing charges related to grave and heinous offences and corruption with the modification suggested by the Election Commission. D is false declaration. The Election Commission has recommended that all false declaration before the returning officer, electoral officer, chief electoral officer, or the Election Commission should be made an electoral offence under Section 31 of the Representations of the People's Act, now restricted to statements relating to the preparations or revision, inclusion or exclusion in the electoral rolls. The proposed amendment will act as an effective deterrent against false statement. The proposed amendment will act as an effective deterrent against false statements. E part is publication of the accounts by political parties. Political parties have a responsibility to maintain proper accounts of their income and expenditure and get them audited annually. This needs to be acted upon early. The audited account should be available for information of the public. Other issues, coalition and ethics. The phenomenon of coalition politics has emerged as a strong presence in the Indian polity in recent years. The very diversity and complexity of the Indian electorate and our vibrant democracy has made this a familiar aspect of our electoral process. Coalition are often necessitated or necessitated Coalition are often necessitated by the fact that in a multi-party system such as ours, it is difficult today for a single party to obtain a clear majority in the legislature. In order to make coalition legitimate, it is necessary for the coalition partners to reach an understanding based on broad-based programs to ensure that the goals of socio-economic development are met. Such an understanding needs to be translated into a common minimum program and announced either prior to the elections or before the formation of the